Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. It's now time for your Fitchburg Public Safety Building update. Jared is back from Pepper Construction. How you doing, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me back.
I just copy and pasted that down so I could remember the name of your company. You'd think it'd be easy to remember, but no. Jared, boy, since the last time we saw you, wow, things have come out of the ground, so to speak, like substantially.
Absolutely, yeah. Site is changing quickly, as you can observe as you drive by.
Well, I think everybody's been sort of wondering, like, you got the big mounds, you really can't see in there, and it's basement work. Things are going. So we'll kick off right away with the concrete walls, because that's something we've been talking about. Last time you were here, you're like, they're going to be racing down Lacey. Well, now they're about to turn and go down Fish.
Yeah, yep. So the walls are making their way from east to west down Lacey. And then they'll kind of return north to complete the Sallyport area and wrap up with the big tall wall pours here, probably about a week or so, 2 weeks.
It's interesting, that process. You told us last time, they use a crane to pour it in there and stuff, and there's a lot of things that go in. It's just an interesting process to see done. How many trucks does it take of concrete to bring in when they're doing that?
For a wall pour?
Yeah.
That's probably, depending on the length of the wall, but anywhere from 10 to 15 trucks, depending on the day of the pour.
So when you're ready, you're ready. Like,
you're
coming.
Yeah, there's a lot of concrete that's going to be poured in those walls.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job of keeping progress and maintaining production and working through these ever-changing conditions that we have here.
Well, that was the other thing, too. Last time we talked, I think it rained, snowed, ice, we had it all.
Right.
And here we are, and it's, mid-50s this week. But nevertheless, backfilling going on as well. So as these walls are finished, what are they doing on that front?
Good question. So you'll see, some black waterproofing going on these walls. They'll kind of get it up 6 or 8 feet. Then they'll bring the earth worker back, backfill, compact the base. Then you'll bring your waterproofer back. He'll work off the backfilled grade to keep completing the waterproofing on the wall. And they'll just chase the walls out of the site and just follow in place.
Fantastic. Now moving on to the things you can see. So, you can see the walls, but you probably have seen, and you've told us this was coming, we have a tower.
Yeah, a few towers now. So
I haven't looked this morning. I'm sure there's more than one.
So JP Cullen, as we talked about, mobilized they're called hydromobiles, which is what goes up with the block as they're laying it. So they set the first stairwell, working on the elevator and the other stairwell now. And then you'll see that operation kind of go on the west side of the site to form the west parking garage walls. Will also be masonry walls.
Yeah, so this masonry work, what goes into it as it's coming along? Because it's an interesting process.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think right off Lacey, you'll see kind of what we call cement silos. So that's where they mix up the mortar. You'll see the site is full of gray block. Which is
lots of block.
Lots of block.
You're underselling this.
Yeah, there is definitely a large amount of CMU block on the project. But yeah, you'll see those towers off Lacey. That's where they mix the mortar. That kind of sets the block into place. And you'll see a lot of deliveries of the gray block. There'll be lulls on the site to move the material around to keep feeding the masons off those big hydromobile scaffolds that we kind of talked about. And you'll see kind of going up with the structure.
How long does it take for those to set? So I was curious about that. Like, once you lay a brick down, like, you want to leave it alone for a while. I assume not that you're moving it, but
yeah, no, it's for it to fully cure out like 7 to 14 days. A lot of that depends on the air temps and things out there as the water's kind of curing out of the mix. But yeah, short version is about 14 days that mortar gets up to strength. They'll have temp bracing and things on those walls as it's kind of curing out to make sure it's self-sufficient until it's reached full design strength.
Fantastic. All right, moving on to structural steel. Last time you say, hey, Jeremy, this will be coming.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah, so kind of like last time we talked, you'll see the masonry towers go up. Next big activity for the project will be structural steel. So they're going to start with setting structural steel inside that stairwell. Just kind of eliminate job-built ladders. They want to get that stairwell in for egress up and down. It's much safer for workers to be going up on stairs versus ladders. So they'll start with setting the stairs first, and then they'll start going into setting the structural steel that's going to eventually support the precast, which is the other portion of the underground parking garage.
Fantastic. This precast stuff, you're saying, is going to get started late April, May. So you'll see the steel start to come in, and you won't see inside the stairwell necessarily.
Right.
But what does that look like then outside?
Yeah, so good question. You'll start to, there will be some steel, that kind of miscellaneous steel that's going to support the precast. But really what you're going to see is, a lot of flatbed semi-trailers. So all this is cast in a plant, and then it's delivered to the site, already cured out, formed, ready to go. So basically they'll pick the large structures with a large crane. They'll bring in a bigger crane than what you see out there currently to set this precast. They'll pick it right off the truck, set it into place, kind of get all the columns and things up. And then you'll see more trucks with plank, so flat slab that will sit on top of these structures that are set previously. And really the precast operation will go pretty fast. I would say, I don't want to short sell it here, but I mean, 3 to 4 weeks from the time that starts, they'll probably be done with setting all of that precast. And that's a big reason we use precast in the industry is it's, controlled environment, poured off site, quality control can be much better. And then setting it on the site actually goes so much faster.
I was just going to say, it's like just assembling like a Lego kit.
Yeah, Legos.
I don't know. I don't have a
adult Legos. Yeah, no, it's very, very accurate.
All right.
So.
And then we did talk about geothermal. That is coming. We know that the crews are busy, of course, at many different job sites, but we might see that coming up real soon as well.
Yep. I think near the end of this month, the end of April, you'll see the drillers mobilize. Obviously, that's dependent on them finishing up their other projects, making sure the weather's fine for them to get here. But yes, you should see that at the end of the month here. And once they start, they will be here for quite some time. We're ballparking right now about 2 days per hole just because they're about 800 feet down. So that will take some time to get in. But yes, once you see that here, you'll start to see like a drill rig. And that's a pretty messy, sloppy operation because they use a lot of water to drill down through. And obviously that water's got to go somewhere. So it really creates, Mother Nature's doing its part.
I was going to say, not only are we going into spring with, so you're just really like doubling down on, we're going to have some fun in the mud. But,
exactly.
That's okay.
Bring your boots.
Bring your boots. All right, Jared. Well, appreciate the update, and things are on schedule. So all of that weird weather and everything that they've endured out there,
yes,
we're still on track.
Yes, very much so.
That's incredible.
Things are progressing nicely.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to having you back in next month and talking about more precast structural steel. I had to read that just to make sure I said it right, but we got it.
All right.
Appreciate your time always.
Thank you. Have a good day.